This is AV SuperFriends Off the Rails, an almost regularly scheduled open discussion on audio and video in higher education. We'll sound off about our most brilliant ideas, our dumbest mistakes, and everything in between. And because this conversation will almost certainly go off the rails at some point, we'll end up covering just about everything else. And now, the AV SuperFriends. For November 10th, 2023, it's the best-sounding podcast in higher ed AV. This is the AV SuperFriends. Broadcasting live to tape from coast to coast, easternmost to westernmost, northernmost to southernmost, gate post to hitching post. I'm your local host who can boast the most milquetoast and utmost humility. I'm Chris Dector. It's time for another Friday afternoon podcast adventure. And let's say hello to today's panel of AV SuperFriends. Today I'm joined by a dynamic paradigm technician from Kansas City, Jamie Reinhardt.
Hello.
A human infrastructure coordinator from Corvallis, Oregon, Mark Kolowazinski.
Hello.
An international configuration associate from Greensboro, North Carolina, Larry Darling.
Just an associate.
And we're joined by our regional division manager, Justin Rexing.
Hey, I got upgraded.
Just barely.
Or did you? It was a promotion.
Lateral promotion. Yeah.
On today's show, we're going to discuss different approaches to working with integrators. But first, let's do the news. And today's article comes from Commercial Integrator, and it's about commercial integrators, written by commercial integrators.
Yeah. Clever.
So link is in the show notes down there. But basically, the title is Experience Matters, Hidden Costs of Not Working with AV Systems Integrators. And of course, knowing us and knowing what we talk about, when we saw this, we bristled.
Laughed a little bit.
Especially since it's written by an integrator, which is really, I don't think it's a little disingenuous, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But
you could probably change 3 or 4 words in that article and make it a really decent article. Like remove integrator and change it out to subject matter expert.
Well, fair enough. And
right? I mean, we don't.
They
need
talk about things like.
integrators.
And this may be, we were probably not the audience for this. This is for someone who wonders,
Really
why
not.
do I need to have these people show up? Who are these folks who are rolling in with trucks and all this stuff? What are they doing in here? So let's just say if I'm a university, maybe I'm a small school, I might be wondering, and I'm not the AV person. I'm just in IT. Maybe I'm an IT manager and I own, the classroom side of things as well. I may be wondering, do I actually need these people? And this is what they're providing. And it's not, they are not incorrect that you're getting.
Not wrong.
They're not wrong. They're bringing things to the table. But Larry's not wiggling his hands.
I completely agree with you that we are not the target audience. However, the target audience who should be reading this does not read Commercial Integrator magazine.
Therein lies the riddle. I was like, who's this for? Because they're not reading this. So,
and that's I
You
think
don't
that's
read Commercial Integrator on while you're having your morning constitutional?
that's what floored all of us. Is like, you got to be effing kidding me, right? I mean, you wrote an article that's promoted yourself. Like, we're past now the fake articles that are actually advertisements. We all can read through those, and now it's a fake article as a different kind of advertisement. And yet, we all sat back after we got done yelling at each other about how stupid and insane this was, and commercial integrators should be embarrassed. They should. That's a little we all
far.
sat back and said,
He was getting to the butt, Justin. Let him get to his butt.
Okay.
We do
All right.
routinely discuss folks that go about it themselves, who try to get their Amazon special, who go to Best Buy and buy whatever's. Well, look, Black Friday's coming up, and our world's about to go all to hell over the next
all my
weeks,
rooms,
right?
just waiting to be in line.
Jamie's going to build out all his classrooms from me.
Like, I got this Amazon TV for $50, and
I thought that was your favorite holiday, Jamie. Black Friday. That's where you go and get all
all the room
your
upgrades.
stuff.
Yeah.
I normally do, but I know how to make it work because I worked with the integrator.
Whack a button and you're set.
But I like Justin, like you said, I think when you look at it and you say, hey, look, you should really use an expert. Use somebody that will help guide you in the right direction. It's like the old article that was written, why churches buy 3 sound systems. Because, the first one, they had the local schmuck do it. The second one, they went cheap the other way. And then finally, the third one, they come back and say, okay, well, we hired an expert. So they spent 3 times as much if they'd have just gone to the expert the first time. And I think we run into that all the time. All of us do. What is the Alcam, for God's sakes? Or some of these other things. Like, well, I saw this thing, it's wonderful. Can I put it in my 250-seat room? Oh, hell no. What are you thinking? So we agree with it, but oh my God, the way the article was written and where it was posted, you're like, are you kidding me? Come on.
Well, I think it's know your expertise, right? If you don't know like the stuff, then don't pretend that you do. And at that point, maybe you do need to bring in an integrator. But
and I think the major flaw with it is they don't recognize in-house integration teams, and that's just not higher ed only. Like I've taught at Avixa for years. And I always have insurance AV people and law firm AV people and all these AV people.
A lot of financial firms, they'll have internal teams.
Internal integrators, not just support staff, but do integration design and support, right? That there needs to be a recognition of that it's not just integration firms that can pull this off. It's the people that can pull this off.
I'd argue that there's probably many integration firms who cannot pull it off.
Oh, I've met them.
And that's the thing is, I think as we read through this, we all see, that every topic that this integration firm brings up, that the systems integrator mentions, we look at that and go, oh yeah, I've worked with 3 who can't even do that. And that's where I think the challenge is for somebody in that sort of role, and just to say like, hey, we provide a valuable service. The problem is there's enough of the, of their fellow systems integrators who are providing a service, but there's no value there because you're getting very, very, very poor results that you may have to go back and then spend your time to go fix anyway. So
I think it goes back to your point, Chris, assuming that all integration firms are good is not true. It's just not.
Whoa. That seems crazy.
And it's Justin, we just got signed up as a dealer with the following 3 companies.
It's also not true that all higher ed AV teams and law firm teams have good AV integration teams either. Like, there's a lot of bad people that work in higher ed. I'm sure
that's like that. There's a lot of people that are just in it for the money. I'm sure they're out there. The people just want the money, and then their sole goal is to sell you something. It's like,
right.
Well, that's why we're all in. Let's be honest. Yeah. We're all working at higher ed institutions because we're in it for the money.
I get 6% commission every time I sell a projector at Western. That's what everybody thinks anyway.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
You just got audited.
Justin, you say things like that, and I'm never sure if you're joking or if it's true because God only knows what's going on at Western Kentucky.
Justin just said that, and we all just got audited.
Yeah.
But when you look at that,
commissions anywhere.
You look at that list. That was one like the purchasing power piece. It's like, yeah, and there may be truth in that, but a lot of times, a lot of integrators feel like that's the goal, like just to purchase for us. It's like purchasing's not my problem I'm trying to solve. I can get stuff from anywhere. Like that's not a problem, but they come in and they want to start talking about you're going to need this thing and this thing, and it's like that classic IT trap where it's all about the stuff, and it's like no, can we move this conversation away from the stuff, please? We want to talk about like quality integration, the holistic experience we're going to have thereafter, and how we're going to support these things. All that I didn't see a whole lot of support conversation in that laundry list of stuff in there. It was all about like here's some stuff and we do it.
Well, that's somebody else's way.
Problem. Yeah, exactly.
Because integration firms usually don't think about.
They don't care about it. We've asked that.
To be fair,
we've had like fist fights about that out here. We've asked people, do you ever support?
They do mention the word
support
4 times.
Yeah.
Well, we offer support contracts. That's
not again, if you're willing to pay us for more, we will tell you we will support this.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think we have a different perspective because we're looking at it from the holistic piece of it, not just I need to buy some stuff and get it here. Like that's not the goal.
Well, we've all been through it and we know how it works. So that's why it doesn't resonate with us.
It comes with experience. If we go back to when we were first started doing this, we'd have a very different approach to it.
And the main theme is, yes, work with somebody that has some knowledge to help guide you to where you need to be. And I think that was the real overarching point of that article. It just came across as self-serving and
guess what? Maybe that's not an integrator. Maybe that's a consultant. Maybe you find a great consultant that you can help police all these crazy integrators and get some quality control at that level.
Start with your fellow campuses. If you're listening to this and you're working on campus, go talk to another campus. Find out who's done it well and take some recommendations from them. Like don't just go and call a random integrator.
Or maybe that expert is you and you just need to get there.
Yeah, could be. Invest in yourself.
I'm the best expert. You got it. So, Well, speaking of other perspectives, let's take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to be joined by somebody who works at a small school and is working with an integrator, and they have kind of a true partnership. And we'll hear from them on what they're up to right after this. Are you looking to really improve your AV integration skills? On your next project, why not try independent amalgamated challenge cables? That's right, challenge cables. Why buy a standard cable and an adapter to put on 1, 2, or all 3 ends when you can use challenge cables? We've taken the most common connections you use on nearly every AV project and combined them into a single cable. HDMI to RJ45, XLR to IEC, and our super popular 5-pin captive screw Phoenix to composite video. Unlike our competitors, independent amalgamated challenge cables don't perform any of the conversions between protocols, so your signal stays just as it was when connected at the source. If you can integrate 6 of these cables in a single project and not get so angry you break something, we'll double your warranty. Independent amalgamated challenge cables. Good luck with that. All right, well, we're joined by a special guest today, Johanna Pierson from the Wentworth Institute of Technology. Johanna, welcome to the madness.
Thank you so much.
So you responded to, I'll link back up. I went on the HETMA community and I said, I'm looking for, actually I said in the royal we sense, we, the AV SuperFriends, are looking for someone to talk to who has a very specific kind of a relationship with integrators, with the way their institution is structured, with the way they handle AV projects and classroom installs and things like that. And you said, that sounds like me. And now here you
punishment,
are.
and here we are. Yeah,
this is all your
That's
fault.
what I get for being honest. Yes.
So why don't you, introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do day to day, where you are, all that fun stuff, and your favorite type of ice cream.
Sure. So I am Johanna Pierson. My official title is now Media Technology Coordinator, which means I'm one step up from AV Technician. And I work at the fancy Wentworth Institute of Technology, which is in downtown Boston. And we are a small technology institution. We are not a liberal arts institution. We focus on engineering, architecture, computer science. We still have, humanities classes and history and media and all that stuff. But we have specific targets that we go for with our majors and our master's degrees as well, because we're a full university now. And day to day, I manage all of the classrooms on campus, all of the AV technology in the classrooms, and all of the live events on campus.
Okay.
I have a department of 3.
That sounds like a busy time.
Whole people.
How are you able to cut away to talk to us? Because
I have today
stuff
off.
going on.
Hey, what's on fire right now?
Everybody's closed.
Everyone's
University's
closed today. That's the only
Everybody's
reason
gone.
why I could do so. Yeah.
And not
I
only
do
does she
have,
support it, it's the technology school, so those people are always re-engineering for you.
Oh, well, it's about half and half. So we have many faculty, staff, and students who are much smarter than I am about technology, of course. And then we have many people who were drawing their architecture designs by hand back when they started. So they are not as forward thinking when it comes to technology. So we've got the full gamut, the full range of knowledge about technology on campus.
So how many different rooms and kind of types of rooms do you have typically?
I could pull up my Airtable database and tell you exactly. I'm going to do that right now.
Just a rough-timate, if you will.
I have over 150 rooms that I manage.
Okay.
So that
50
is
a person.
Yeah, well, most of them are me because one of my other coworkers specializes in live events specifically. That's why I hired him. So we have over 150. I think we're creeping up towards 200 these days. And it is classrooms, laboratories, auditoriums, conferencing rooms, offices, huddle spaces, library study rooms, all that.
All the stuff, all the typical culprits of technology needs. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So do you have any AV that you don't deal with or don't support or don't even consult or even entertain messing with?
Printers aren't my problem.
Everybody loves
printers.
a printer.
I guess could
now.
be AV. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people think printers are. My team specifically is within the the technology help desk, which is within the IT department on campus. So we are under the umbrella of digital technology services, which is IT. And then we have our other departments, network operations, et cetera, down to the 3 of us. And we have a handful of part-time student workers who assist us.
Yeah, that sounds very familiar to us too.
Yeah. I found that is a pretty typical setup for small institutions who don't have a large group. And as we were talking about why I'm on the show to begin with, don't have an in-house integration system. This is the usual setup. Mm-hmm. The number of people that are employed specifically for AV can vary depending on if classrooms fall under their wheelhouse or if events do or don't. I found that oftentimes they're split up, that events don't touch classroom management, which I think is super weird, but they look at what I do and they're like, what the hell's wrong with you guys? So,
there was a couple threads around that recently, I think, going on like ETC. That was like the event support versus classroom support. It had some traction. It was going around, and it was
a different
surprising.
Skill set.
It is.
It is. And that's the thing, is that I have to be jack of all trades, master of none, which is extremely frustrating to someone who really wants to know everything about what they're doing. But I can't. I don't have time to know everything about what I'm doing. So I have to cover everything and guess about the deeper things, or hire someone else to do it for me, which is what we're here to talk about.
So in your classroom, your 80% of whatever your most normal configuration is, what's under the hood of that? What do you got going on in there?
Do you want to know about the stuff that I just put in, or the stuff that's 10 years old? Because
whatever you have to deal with the most. Yeah.
10 years old. You work here? Because
this is interesting. Let's start with your antiques.
Yeah,
and then move to where you're going.
Tell us what you're morphing to at the a highish level. But this is always interesting because it's interesting to hear where people are coming from, and this will tie back into the questions about your partnerships later of like. Mm-hmm. How you dealing with that? So where did you come from?
So when I started at the institution, which was just over 10 years ago now, they still had transparency projectors in classrooms, and they still had slide projectors floating around and in their supply closets.
I found 2 of those yesterday. It was great.
Yeah, part of one of the first big projects that I was part of on campus was getting rid of all of those. I brought my bolt cutters in because they were
chained down,
locked.
Of course.
They were literally locked to those horrible like black metal rolling carts
those
all
are nice.
Over campus. And I took my huge bolt cutters and just chopped the locks of every single one of them and took them forcibly.
That's the universal key for bike shopping on
question.
Campus. Yeah.
I got a question. So this is a really dumb question. Why didn't you just take the cart and the overhead and just push them both off the cliff and leave the chain on and save time?
Because some of our buildings don't have elevators, Justin.
It's just quicker that
we have
that
a window, right? Do you have windows in classrooms? You can just...
The other answer is the cart is more valuable than the
overhead
projector.
The metal on that cart alone.
So you're still using
the sheet
cart.
metal could be recycled for beer money.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's the answer I was looking for. Got it.
Some of the windows don't open. And
okay, there's that answer.
We're the building that I'm thinking of specifically opens up directly onto a Boston City street, so I couldn't throw anything out the window without hitting pedestrians.
Would be great. You just got to coordinate, make sure nobody.
That's what the student workers are for.
Pay my bills.
Yeah, you just can't hit anyone. It's just
so that's where I
just
started.
Yell, look out!
Yeah, that's where we started from. That was the level that I joined the university. Is old projectors, slide projectors, transparency projectors, just a bunch of crap. And with my boss at the time, we were desperate to just start dragging the entire university into the modern era of AV in classrooms.
So VGA.
It was full VGA. I can't even tell you how many VGA cables I had to solder back into place after people ripped them out of the walls.
It's the new thing.
VGA Sunrise, it's coming.
Yeah,
get ready.
Like vinyl records, VGA, it's coming back.
I heard somebody say that to me the other day, and I was offended.
It's going to be that crimp 5-wire that doesn't pass EDID. That's what's coming
It's a
back
warmer
specifically.
experience, the VGA. It's why
I think that,
all
I
my
think that
classes.
it was in like a HETMA chat after hours, and someone was joking about VGA being like a retro thing that's coming back, and I just said no. I refuse.
That might have been
Would that
us,
person
actually.
been Decker?
Could have
Their
been.
initial CD, and they're from Wyoming.
Might have been him.
It's coming back full circle, Chris.
It's the hipsters, man. They want to go in there like, no, I got this old MacBook, clamshell
That's my plan.
MacBook, and that's
If
you
I
wanna make
leave
sure it
this
works.
stuff in place long enough, it will be in vogue again. So
Okay, Chris, there's
Kinda
a
like
meme
furniture?
that goes something like, I know you're joking, but if you knock on the door asking for the devil and you knock on enough doors, he eventually is going to answer.
I'll be right eventually, right? That's how it works.
Someday.
That's not a good thing, Chris.
So to be fair, I do have one room that is still analog only, and they refuse to pay for it. It's
One?
departmental, so
Just
I just
one?
ignore it.
Just
I have
one?
more than one, yeah.
No, analog only though. Not like there's
Yeah,
not like a
we got
provision.
more than
so
one.
Oh, yeah, I have more
Wow.
than one.
y'all messed up when Wyoming's beating you.
Well, I
Yes.
don't own those spaces. I can't do anything about it.
We don't have
Oh, I
Wyoming
own
money.
the spaces.
I'm happy to not be on that island with you all right now. I'm just not.
You have different
I'm
problems.
just going to
Yes.
change the label out front from classroom to a museum and just leave it. So.
I think we have a whole building of MPS 100s yet. I think.
So, what have you done to drag them? Because you said you're dragging them into the modern AV era. What's it look like today? What are you trying to get shoved into these rooms?
Well, first of all, we created a standard that we would
What? Whoa.
stick to moving forward. Yeah.
What led to that decision?
Wow.
In all seriousness,
Well,
we all talk about ours and how we did this. How did you do it? What led to that
And
decision?
how did you get that buy-in? And what was that process
Oh,
like?
I don't
for
care if
adoption
anyone
across
else.
buy-in? Yeah.
Oh, I don't care about their buy-in.
Oh,
Correct.
there you go. That's how
That's
you
the
do
right
that.
answer. Move. Yeah.
So, how did you get control of that?
See previous
I'm
answers.
Task
really-
management, I
Yeah,
guess,
refer
if
to
you
previous
will,
answers.
because if you didn't have to negotiate and barter and create buy-in, then you just wave the magic wand and
No.
it shall be, and then it happened.
No, I don't have control over my budget either.
Okay.
Who does anymore? I mean,
So
I
the
do.
true
I
answer to your
have
question
control
of
over budget.
the true answer to your question of how I did it is I'm really, really annoying. Yeah.
okay.
See,
Yeah,
I am
that's my-
too, and that didn't go well for me.
Oh, it went
So you
great for
must
me.
be better at it.
Yeah. Oh, I'm real good. So my thing is that I don't take no for an answer if it's a stupid answer. So
I like that.
I just keep showing up and saying, hey, you know this thing that I told you was going to happen 6 months ago? It's now 6 months later and it's happened. So
Are
what are you gonna do
are
about
we
it?
siblings? Seriously.
I was going to say, like, you
'Cause
sound like
these
Jamie.
are all the answers that fall out of my mouth.
Yeah, I told you so's.
whenever
I told-
my direct supervisor sees me coming, he just is like, oh no, what is it now? And so I got very used to telling people what was going to happen about the pieces of crap that they had in place. And I kept being right. So
We're siblings.
No, but then the worst thing happened is that then they put me in charge of it.
We're siblings.
If you know so much, then you deal with it. Yeah.
All right, you figure
just,
it out.
I just got that over the summer. They're like, we're
Yeah.
tired of it. Now you're in charge.
Wait, so back up. So you deal with it, but we're not going to give you any money to deal with it.
No, I don't have the budget. I don't have control over the budget. I go to my direct supervisor and I say, hey, what do I have for a budget this year? And I just go through the stack of higher ups in my office, shaking them until answers come out.
So is it correct to say that you're not using other people's money? For example, we have to go to biology or chemistry and negotiate and ask, but you are getting IT money to go out and do these rooms, right? From some
that's
kind of
correct.
central pool? Okay.
There is a central pool of money that IT gets, and there is a specific portion of that is supposed to go to classroom upgrades or AV upgrades in academic spaces on campus. Yes.
So people
Is there
steal
an
your money, though?
expectation that every room is replaced in a certain number of years? Like, is there a replacement cycle, or is it just magic money that comes and you prioritize rooms based on which ones need it?
So we were in the process of getting a cycle approved. Then guess what happened?
COVID?
It was 2019, if that gives you a hint. So
you bought cameras?
No, I didn't. I didn't buy anything for 2 years. When 2020 hit, I had no budget for 2 years. So that replacement cycle that my boss and I had been planning went out the window. So now it's back to, I look at the oldest thing we have on campus and I work it up from there. I'm in the process of, again, trying to create a reasonable upgrade cycle. I did a bunch of math a little while ago that was, okay, this is what you guys usually give me approximately per year when we're not in the middle of a pandemic. And this is how many classrooms we have. This is the average of how much we would spend on each individual type of space. And this is how many of each of those types of space we have. If we replaced every piece of AV equipment in that room, down to the bolts and the wires, how much would it cost to replace the entire campus? And then with how much money you give me per year, how long would that take? So my boss and I are, well, excuse me, he isn't my boss anymore because he moved laterally. So my coworker and I are going to work up a presentation to give to our higher ups and then to the President's Advisory Council about how they're not going to keep up anymore if this is the amount that they continue to spend. Because we were in a hole for before we started doing these really intensive pushes to get better AV. And then they built a whole new building, and then there was a pandemic, et cetera, et cetera. So they aren't spending enough to keep up with what they need to do currently, which is what we hope to change. And we were doing pretty well at that, and again, until the pandemic.
So are you a private or a public institution?
We are a private institution, but we are a nonprofit institution.
Nonprofit.
So we do not get state money, except for, federal work study grants, et cetera.
Grants you can apply for.
Okay.
Correct.
So when you started down this new standard, this is what we're going to do going forward, the life cycles and things. Did you create just a guideline of equipment designs and manufacture, or did you have a partner? How did you, because you don't have a giant staff. So you said you weren't doing all the work, but you do all the work. What parts are you delegating, and how did that work out for you? Or how is it?
So my job is pretty much doing this, is I coordinate everything within the department. So I still have my hands on everything, even though I'm not physically doing everything myself. All of the event requests or classroom repair requests that come in, I touch them all. And then they are assigned to whoever is available at the time. I create all of the shift schedules for our student workers, who then sign up for events that they choose to cover. And then I also create we have a calendar of things that we have to do that week. And so all of the events go onto it, all of the repairs go onto it, all of the consultations or training sessions go into it, and I do all that myself. I also do I choose what classrooms are going to be upgraded. I interface directly with my contractor to do all of that. I do a lot of classroom repairs or troubleshooting myself, but then that's where all of my other staff comes in. My two full-time coworkers. One of them is very heavily focused on events, but he also touches a couple of other repair things just because he has the knowledge that the others don't yet. Because I trained him myself. He was a student worker of mine for 4 years. And then I said, you can't leave. You're the other half of my brain. So I hired him. Leave. Yeah. And he didn't want to leave. He really liked what he was doing and said specifically that he wanted to stay on campus. Shout outs to Ben. Thank you. You're, again, the other half of my brain. And so he knows everything that I taught him and more now. So he knows a lot. He's really jumped into wanting to know more about programming. So he has taken Crestron's 101 programming class. Speaking of QSYS training, he just did level 1 QSYS training. He's on level 2 or 3 of Dante training. So he's really interested in that stuff too. So he supports me in all of those aspects, and he really likes live events. So a lot of my coworkers' focus is on all of the live events that I don't have time to cover because I'm doing this other stuff. And I'm also the morning shift, so I go in at 7:30 in the morning and take care of all the pre-8 a.m. panics that the faculty has before they come in, 9, 10 and stay until 5 or 6:30. So I'm the morning person for all the classrooms and events, and then I do all of this stuff. While they handle all of the night stuff, they do a lot of the training of student workers, they handle basic repairs, and they do all the more complex live events. So that's what they do. But I do all of the budgeting stuff and all of the direct interfacing with my contractor, and all of the pressure on the upper management comes from me.
Well, let's talk about this contractor relationship.
I'm curious about this contractor.
Yeah, and just the relationship, what they're doing for you, not necessarily who it is.
Yeah, so I inherited them. That's the funny thing. They're called
Somebody's
AVI
will?
Pro.
Somebody just you get this contractor, it's yours.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Wow.
They were already working for my campus when I started working at Wentworth. They're called AVI Pro. They're a tiny little company from New Hampshire, and they are incredible. I learned almost everything I know about higher ed AV specifically from my original boss, Tristan, and Andy from AVI Pro. My contractors have taught me so much, and I incredibly value them.
So you said they're from New Hampshire?
Mm-hmm.
So do they have a person that resides at your campus, or do they? I mean, how do you put in a service? I mean, how do they work with you? Because this is the interesting part. We were talking about this the other day. If they have to roll a truck, how's that work?
Yeah,
and I
what's
know
the
there's
SLAs?
There's a few small schools around here where the agreement is that they have a person that basically resides right there on the campus, but doesn't work for the campus. So how does that work for you?
So they don't have enough people to do that. They're a 2-guy company that also hires extra when they need extra.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so we're not their main client. We're just one of their clients. They do a ton of work for people in the Boston area, but all up and down the East Coast. And so what they do for us specifically is, because they have worked for Wentworth on and off for 10 years, they're very familiar with all the rooms on campus. So when I say I want to put a full new upgrade into Wentworth 312, which I just did this past year, I did a whole building. We have a building called Wentworth on the Wentworth campus, which is really confusing for everyone involved. And so when I say I'm going to Wentworth, everyone looks at me weird, and I say, no, Wentworth Hall. So I say to them, I want to upgrade all the classrooms in Wentworth to our current standard, which is what we did this year. And so they say, great, these are the pieces of product that are available right now that fit with what you usually want, that I can get for cheap, etc. And I say, okay, cool. I want these kinds of things in these types of classrooms. They create that quote for me. We don't even exchange designs really, because we are both so familiar with what we want in those two spaces, in these two kinds of spaces, that I don't see a design for them. I don't ask for one. They don't ask for a design from me. We just know. And if there's something complex or something new that we're doing, then of course I will see a design. But if not, I just get a quote, and I book the spaces for them. I work with our facilities to say, okay, my contractors will be here these days. These are the work orders that I need, that you need to finish before they come, and these are the work orders that you will need to finish after they come. I take that quote, I give it to my upper management. They produce a PO through finance, and then when it's time to have our contractors in, we schedule that time. They come in, they do the installation and programming for us. We come in at the end and do a full run through of everything, and then we take over for support and maintenance.
Okay.
We've started to, because we have had this relationship with them for so long, we know how they work well enough that we also can do a little bit of reprogramming and a little bit of our own installation. We can do hot equipment swaps ourselves because we're so familiar with the designs. We just keep spares. So when something goes down, we go in with a ladder and stick our heads in the ceiling and fix it. And then if it's something that needs a bigger fix, if I have a DMPS that goes down, for instance, I don't have a lot of spare DMPSs sitting in my closet. So I put a dummy projector in there for a day and say, Andy, I need something to put this room back online for the short term. Or if you can get me something right away, I need to do this weekend. So our SLAs are fast because our community demands them to be fast, but they're always going to be Band-Aid fixes if it's something big that needs to be fixed. If it's something small that needs to be fixed, we can take care of it ourselves. If it's a little piece of programming glitch, if it is a power supply that's died, if it is a lamp that goes out, we take care of all that ourselves. It's the big stuff that they will fix for us. And
what's the typical turnaround on that kind of thing?
Pretty fast.
Even if it's a medium, not like a huge, horrible destruction thing, just a medium. This is out of our realm, but is it a day? Is it two? I mean, how does that work?
Couple days. If they are in the neighborhood, if they're not in New Jersey doing a huge install somewhere else, a day or two. They're pretty fast at the turnaround time.
And how does your client, how does the student body, the instructors, the administration, how do they feel about, look, if it takes me a couple of days, everybody starts getting their panties in a wad. But, I mean, how do they feel about that relationship? Because, it is what it is at most times.
But she's putting in stopgaps, though. So that's
kind
of what
she's
kills
keeping
that.
the things.
We never have a room completely offline for more than a couple hours a day max if we have our way. There are times when we can't have our way. There's an electricity fault or something like that. We will have something useful in place in the room, either that minute when the professor has called us, or as soon as there is an open time in the classroom where we can get in there for more than 10 minutes between classes. We will have something in place. We have crash carts for this purpose. We have moved people to other rooms when they needed something more specific than, a projector and a screen. We have rolled in extra equipment. We have built new systems for them. We've done all of that stuff.
So it
they
sounds
don't
like
even know. Literally, no
like
one else knows who these people are. They only know us.
They kind of maybe think that they're part of the university, I would assume. Maybe
they might, yeah. They might even think that, yeah.
So it sounds like it's all rainbows and unicorns now. So when you first got to campus, how was that relationship? Because correct me if I'm wrong, you said that the integrator was there before you got there, and then you show up and they're like, uh-oh. Or was it pretty fluid and dynamic, and it just kind of flowed in like year 2 through year 10? Now it's pretty much the same. It's been really easy going.
So I wasn't in charge at first. My original boss, Tristan, was, and he had a good relationship with them as well. So when I came on as the new person, they said, oh, great, someone Tristan hired. We will, we know that he does a good job, so we assume you will do a good job. I don't think I had a single harsh moment from them, like ever. We disagree on things, of course. And when you are in a business arrangement with someone, you're never going to be able to agree on things 100% of the time, because I am paying you for your services. They kind of have to be nice to me, at least, or else I'm not going to pay them again. But we also, we jive together pretty well personality wise. He and his team are very intelligent. They're very organized, and also as a person, they're just nice people. I enjoy talking to them. So that makes it easier to have a good business relationship, even though those things aren't the most important parts of a business relationship. Wentworth itself isn't always great at, any small institution isn't always great at maintaining relationships with contractors, because it's a bureaucracy. There is other people involved. But they know that I will do my best to support them. So they do their best to support me as well. And it's worked out really well for both of us so far. That could change, but I don't foresee it changing on purpose through my efforts at the very least.
So speaking of change, and I've asked this question in my class a lot, we play the what if game. So what happens if they decide to, because it's two people, right, running the business, they disband because of whatever reason. They win the lottery, they move on to Hawaii, and they never see you again. So do you all have a plan for that, or is that just a reactive situation? You just kind of have to figure that out, or what would that look like? Because you would kind of have to start over with the new integrator, right?
We absolutely would have to start over with a new integrator. The relationship would start out very differently. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you have a backup integrator in the mix, or is it just you've been relying on this and it's just been rock solid and you just keep moving on until the wheels fall off, kind of thing?
And along those same questions that Justin's asking, who owns the code and who owns the designs? Because if they disband, are you free to use those same designs with your next integrator?
We own the code.
They're not really designs; they've just been quotes, though.
The majority of them have been quotes. If we ask for not even the design, but just the layout, the cable runs, they will give us that, and we own the code. That's a requirement through Crestron specifically, I believe, because we're a Crestron campus for the most part. It's a requirement if
Depends
you're
on who you talk to.
Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah.
But they of course say that if you are a Crestron master programmer, when you are, I think that they say that when you do a job like that for someone, you are required to give your client a copy of the code if they ask for it, which we started doing so a few years ago when we started to understand more about how it worked. We said, hey, we want copies of all this. So when a touchscreen panel goes down because someone's accidentally smashed it off the table, we can just dump a replacement in, load the code, everyone goes on with their day.
I guarantee if people listening right now, they're saying, no way in hell I have to threaten death upon certain contractors to get that code, because a lot of people will try to keep that very close to themselves and say it's proprietary. So
I have heard those stories, and I was shocked, to be quite honest with you.
I think you're just working with a good team of people.
Yeah, you're working with a solid.
I knew that. I knew that. But I've also heard the nightmare stories, and I've also heard other people say it's required to give you a copy of that code.
It is absolutely not required.
No.
It may be a recommendation or a suggestion, but it is not required.
Even back with when I was working for an integrator as a programmer, we gave them the compiled code, but if they wanted the uncompiled, that was a whole other price range.
Yep. It's interesting.
I think that part of it may be that now that we know enough to make these small repairs ourselves, it's way more worth their time to tell us how to do that and not have to drive to Boston than to get the money from us.
I was going to say, it's mutually beneficial if you all have the understanding that here's your code, you have the stuff. Rather than us roll out here and nickel and dime you for every little thing we're going to do, you guys can take that and be more self-supported in a way. So it's a good blend, I think.
Yes. So that is the kind of unspoken agreement between us, is that they are very busy people and have other jobs to do and other clients to service. The less stupid little shit that they have to help us with, the more time they will have to pick up larger jobs. And
there's a lot of integrators who like to mop up all that stupid little shit and overcharge for it, and then it doesn't get right, and all of a sudden everything falls apart.
That's not a great way to keep clients.
No,
from an integrator perspective, I 100% agree with what Johanna's saying here, because the more, going back to buy-in, you give out your code, you teach the end users or the clients or even the IT professionals how to troubleshoot, how it works. They're going to keep calling you back for more stuff.
It's a relationship.
It's going to happen.
So
that's why we've stuck with them for this long.
Exactly.
Are they on a retainer system, or is it time and material every time?
It's time and material every friggin' time. And that's the worst. If I could get them some kind of benefits from all of this good service that they've given us in the past, I want to make them a contract that they they are our AV service provider. But because we are a small institution, our finance team wants every large purchase to be looked at carefully and considered carefully. Makes sense. Don't get me wrong. Our finance team does a very good job. This is their job. They're supposed to be looking at risk management. They're supposed to be finding cheaper options. They're supposed to be doing all this stuff. But they also don't understand the particular value of what I have. Mm-hmm. So I have been trying to make them and we have vendors for other things that are our first pick. Like there is a list on campus that's like flowers, photography, rental equipment, yada, yada, yada. Those are chosen vendors that the university has. And I want to put my AV vendor on that list, but they have not, there's no official way to do that.
Well, have them start selling flowers.
I know, right?
Flowers and AV.
And AV.
Yeah.
So I want to give them the confidence that we'll keep coming back to them. And if it was my choice, we will always keep doing so. But I'm not the budget. I'm not the budget. I'm not the one who manages the budget. I'm not the finance team.
In those situations, like for procurement, like just computers. Is that a list? Is that on the list, or how does?
So we are for a long time, we were a laptop school. We gave out laptops to every student, faculty, and staff that came to campus. And recently, we've kind of moved away from that. So we still offer the sale of a discounted laptop to every student, but they're allowed to make their own choice as long as it fits within the requirements of their program. But they have moved back and forth between several different vendors over the years, depending on who is going to give them the best deal and the best treatment and the best service, and just who has enough. Because again, during the pandemic,
you could go into one room and have HP and then Dell, then something else, or is it all one manufacturer? Just depends on where you buy it from.
It's all one manufacturer, and it depends on what year you were there at the university. So for years, we had Apple and Lenovo laptops. And then we had Razer as a supplier for some time. And then we currently have HP as a supplier. So
if you're a laptop university, do you not have computers, like dedicated computers in your classrooms, or you're pushing to that, or?
We are solely a BYOD campus in every room. There are 2 rooms on campus that are not BYOD, and they're both the president's conference room and the board of trustees room. Those are the only ones on the entire campus.
Larry, you're all about BYOM.
Yeah. Larry loves BYOD.
BYOM, not BYOD.
I know.
Larry, don't want to run scenario. It's pronounced a little bit different.
Yeah, and that's so every room is BYOD.
Okay.
Wow.
So if Rexing backs up his money truck, because he has one of those.
Wait, what money truck?
The big one that you're keeping in the backyard. The one that has all the money in it. Yeah,
all the money.
Publishers Clearinghouse.
I wish I knew where that was.
When Justin backs his truck in there and throws the door open and dumps out all the money for just AV.
Nice.
Would you've talked very glowingly about your relationship with your contractor. Would you be tempted to grow your own staff, do it all your own, and maybe lessen that reliance on that contractor? Would you ever want to have your own department that did everything from design to service to program to? Is that something that's even, or is your situation just peachy? You love it. I know this is all pretend money. This is, you just won the $1 billion lottery thing and you wrote your own check. But
sure,
would you be interested in that? Would you want to do it all yourself?
So problem is a couple things. I don't make any of those decisions. I don't hire. I don't choose who I hire. I don't choose our budget. I don't choose how much of our budget comes to IT. I don't choose how much of our IT budget comes to me. Mm-hmm. I don't touch the money.
Yeah. Well, I'm just.
So if imaginarily, sure. If
playing the pretend game that you got to make that call.
I would certainly I would grow my staff, because I would like more opportunity to focus on smaller pieces of our job, and I would like different people to specialize. I would like it so not every member of my staff had to know how to do everything. It's just because we have such a small staff of full-timers, every time there is an event that, for example, the president of our university is at, we have to put a full-time staff member there. The president's a busy guy. So
should be.
If he has 3 meetings on the same day with 3 different schools on campus, engineering, architecture, and computer science, for example, and he's doing a big old meeting with every member of the faculty from each of those schools in a row, we are there the whole time.
So, well, hold on. So you have to be at you said event. So I was like, yeah, I got the event, but you're like, if the president has a meeting with 4 people, you have to staff that.
Not 4 people. I'm talking 40 people.
I didn't know
it has
how
to be at least 5 people, Justin.
Yeah.
Now it's
be
reasonable.
This could be really bad.
But if we've got, he's got 50 staff that he has to meet with on every team. Okay.
He's like, Johanna, come here. I'm calling my mom. I need support.
You laugh, but similar things have happened.
So you guys do provide white glove for those kind of events
for one person.
For board of trustee and executive events, we do provide that. Yes.
Or one group of people. Yeah. Okay.
To be fair, I mean, there's a team here that does that as well, but it's not my team. So
yeah,
it's my team. Yeah.
Because we're the only team. We're the only ones. So that means at 7:30 in the morning to 6:30 p.m. at night, and then afterwards we have events, we have to have a staff member who can do any of those things. They have to be able to repair a classroom. They have to be able to run an event. They have to be able to run a soundboard. They have to be able to run a video conference. They have to be able to run a live stream. And occasionally there are events that require all 3 of us, because one of them's running the live stream on vMix. One of them's doing the camera operations. Another one's mixing audio and listening to the live stream. And then we have to, have a camera operator in the room sometimes, because not all of our cameras are Ethernet controlled. So that's my whole staff. And then somebody calls and says, hey, I got a problem in classroom X. And I'm like, that's nice. We're not there.
Typical. Yeah.
We're busy.
It sounds like you all do all the services that somebody who just that sounds like that could be AV. If anybody just kind of thinks that it's AV at all, it's all of your stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Everything but
There's
printers.
nothing on campus that is truly AV that isn't ours.
No. Okay. It's the perception.
So I would like a staff that could focus a little bit more. I would like to have, 2 or 3 people that are like, we do events. We don't change a single light bulb on this campus. And that would give them a lot more time to do things like learn how to do fancy lighting and build
lots of
up
chandeliers everywhere. Beautiful.
Build up our skill in live streaming, so each one of us knows how to do that full process. So each one of us knows how to video edit it. But the thing is, it takes time to learn these things, which you don't have if every hour someone's calling you because you have to go to another building to fix something.
You're just a firefighter.
Yeah.
You can't learn stuff new when you're just putting out fires the whole time.
And the same goes for the other side of it, the classroom support side, is I would like more people for that too, so I could have one person always in the office ready to take the call and one person out in the field doing stuff, and then we can switch. Or if you're not doing those things, you could be learning how to maintain and support those things. So I would like enough, but that's every IT department in every university that I've ever met, is they have exactly enough people to put out the fires, and that's it.
Well, not me. I'm carrying at least 30 extras just for giggles.
Right.
Lighting fires out here.
Most of them are really good at solitaire and Tetris.
Well, yeah, isn't that when people ask what number of people should we have on our team per number of spaces or whatever, and the answer is always more than you have.
Yeah.
And you always think about that. It's like, well, this team used to have 3, now there's 5. Are we 60%? More efficient or doing more? No, it's just like there's just more stuff going on, and work will expand to fill the time available for it.
Parkinson's law.
And I also want you all to know that previously we only had 2 full-time media staff. I had to fight to get the 3rd person.
Who'd you fight? Did you win?
I did win.
Yeah.
I feel like
it was the president out in the alley.
Oh God, yeah.
I'm calling you out.
But it sounds like you all are really aligned with the service as close as it can be to the user and the client, right? So
Yeah.
you're providing event support, you're doing all these things because that's the experience that your leadership says, we want to make sure this is of high value and of high impact, so we're going to staff it accordingly. I think that's the mission, right? To make sure all of that stuff, and I'm going to imagine somewhere in their mind, they're like, all that break fix and all that under the hood stuff, like, why would we want you to be doing all that when we want you and identify you as being the subject matter expert as aligned with this experience delivery? So it makes sense, I think, from that upper level side to say, okay, we can outsource that break fix stuff, but we want to make sure that you are who we need you to be and all of this other stuff that we want to have highly curated. So
I think that's a pretty generous view of how much upper management understands about what my job is. But I agree with you, is that that's currently how it works, and I don't mind that. But I do wish that I had a deeper understanding of those things, and I'm trying to get that for myself. That's why I got my CPS. That's why I am, I've taken some CPSD classes. That's why I take those Crestron programming courses. That's why I want to do that QSYS training. I want to understand things better so it's faster to fix it. And the thing is that, again, talking about your teamwork with your integrator and not having to call them for every little problem, is if I do all the troubleshooting in advance, I can then say, hey, the problem is this specific device in this signal chain. And I know because I did these things to figure out that that was the problem specifically. I don't have a spare. Will you come put that in and program it and get it going again for me, instead of me doing the same thing that everyone else does to me and calling him and saying, hey, it's broken, can you fix it? I prefer to have a concrete answer about what is wrong in a place before I call someone else in to fix it. I'd rather not have to call anyone to fix it. I'd rather be able to fix it ourselves. I would rather have them come in specifically to do design and installation work for us because they do a fantastic job. But I would rather them never have to come to campus to fix anything for us. I want them doing my installs, doing my programming, and doing really high-end stuff for us that we don't have the time or the people to concentrate on. And then I want them to go on with their lives. And we only call them when we need that, either that high-level support from them or we need new equipment purchased from them.
It sounds
it's
like
not
you
really
just
worth
need more...
either of our times to do that little nitty gritty stuff. It takes too much time for us. It takes too much time for them. Like you said, I don't know why, other integrators would nickel and dime that stuff. It doesn't seem worth the money. Is it worth the money?
Well, they think it is because that's the old school way of doing it. I'm going to hold the code. I'm going to hold all the intellectual property of the system I put in so that I have to get support calls. And then every time I get a call, I'm going to charge $100 plus travel plus. And then eventually you're like, man, this is not sustainable. And then you just stop using the integrator.
Yeah. It's really interesting that you have the relationship that you do and that you speak so highly of it, because there's so many folks who are just down on their relationship because they don't feel like it's a partnership. They do feel like you're just the used car salesman. You're just out here to get my money, not hey, we're in this together. I want to help you. You want to help me. Let's exchange some coin and be happy. I feel like that's always how you should start. If I got lucky, like straight up, I got lucky. I did not do anything to deserve this. Like I said, I inherited this company from my previous boss. And I went into it assuming that they were on the up and up because they had a good relationship with my boss. And they came into the relationship again, assuming that I was on the up and up. And because they also kind of had the opportunity to train me about how they wanted to work with someone. So they said, here, this is what we're going to do. And I said, okay, great. Sounds good to me. Here's what I'm going to do. And if I had to pick another integrator, because you said they've won the lottery and they're moving to Hawaii, I would hope that I would be able to start that way with somebody else. I would hope to get a recommendation from them or from my previous boss or from someone in HETMA or from someone in our Slack chat that a bunch of us are in and say, hey, who's local that can give me a good recommendation of who to look for or who to avoid
And I would try to start building that same kind of relationship. Obviously, I couldn't build the exact same relationship because each company and each person that is doing that work is unique. But I would try to build a similar relationship that is based very much so on trust, that you are doing your job and I am doing my job. And if we work together, we will both do a better job.
I think that where you've been so successful here is because, and there's a couple of different aspects to it, but I suspect it's because you're a small institution and a small team. You're working with a small integrator, and you have built that relationship over the years. And frankly, you're working with some good people at that integrator. You're exactly right. If you reached out to expand that to others, to other integration firms or whatever, or you went with a larger one, I suspect you'd have a very, very different experience. And that may be where the rest of us are coming from on that. So I think that's what's made your relationship so mutually successful between the institution and the integration firm. And it is a true partnership. And I think it's fantastic, honestly, because I'll just say it this way. I'm going to be blunt. That is rare. That is rare as shit to find that sort of true partnership that works for both sides and is mutually beneficial, because most people, especially once you get into, and it may be because it's a private institution versus public, but when you have to go out to bid and you have to get multiple quotes and you have to go through this whole RFP proposal process, that if it may be just somebody in the, let's just say, procurement office who's just like, oh, this number's lower, we'll go with that. And you don't have necessarily a full process of somebody vetting that, or you don't have somebody with your background, your knowledge looking over that, because they may be like, look, I'm just the IT person who runs all of IT for my school or even for my college within a larger university. I'm just going to say okay with this, and we get what we get. And it is truly a numbers game at that point, and it is what is the least amount of work we can do to make a system, and then we'll move on to the next one.
So I will tell you that we have gone out to bid before several times, and sometimes AVI Pro got the bid, because even though they weren't the lowest number, again, we're not a state institution, so we don't have to take the lowest number. And
we actually
our
never have to take the lowest number for any state institution. You just got to do a lot of homework.
State by state, Justin.
Yeah.
But we do have partners in facilities and in finance who do understand the value of the work that they do that AVI Pro does on campus. But they have not always been the winner. We had one building in particular that they, I don't know the details because I wasn't involved in that part of the work at the time. Someone else got that bid and did that whole building, and it was terrible. And I never chose that company again.
Just out of curiosity, do you want us to bleep out the AVI Pro or AV Pro name every time? Because whoever listens to this, that's a rare company, and they're going to get really busy.
Yeah.
I don't.
Might have just got more clients.
Hold on, Larry. Like, we have 5 listeners. Like, what are you worried about?
But those 5, if this company has 2 people, we can.
So no, I don't. They're great, but I will tell you, they don't even have a website because they are busy enough that they don't need new clients right now. They know who they work with, and they also partner with other integration firms. They go and work for their jobs when they need to, and they also hire other people from other integration firms when they need extra people for a project. So they go back and forth and do a lot of this stuff. The majority of the work they get is either with partnerships that they've had for a long period of time, or partnering with other integration firms. Like, you can Google search them and you'll find that they exist, but they don't have a website that says, hey, get a quote from us. They don't have that.
I already respect them. That sounds very familiar with a lot of things that
we'll show up and do great work for you if you can find us.
Yep.
If you can find us. Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Johanna, this has been fantastic. You have brought a great perspective to this discussion and shared a truly unique situation where you have a true partnership, and I think it's been fantastic to hear from that. I do want to give you a chance. Do you want to plug anything? Do you want to tell people how to reach out and find more from you? You want to people who want to work on your awesome team? You mentioned early you're starting to hire, so how do we?
She has to start another fight to hire that next person.
Yeah, she's got to go fight the president on the quad. But how do we get people in touch with you if they want to come work for you and work with this really cool integration firm? Where are people going to find you?
So the only place that I am public on social media is on LinkedIn, and that's only so I can talk to fun people that I meet at AV conferences. So you can find me there. I'm on HETMA, of course. I am one of the chairs on HETMA I'm the regional groups chair. I'm in James King's Slack chat. If you want to work at Wentworth, you can just go and look at the HR website. The IT office overall hires more often than I do because I've hired, once in the last 5 years. So, but if you're a college student who's looking for a new place we take co-ops if you're, local to the area and you're at a school that does co-ops. Otherwise, you'll have to wait until I leave and then you can have my job. Good riddance.
And I'm going to burn it to the ground.
You don't want Jamie to show up there.
I have had my coworkers mention a few times that they might leave when I leave, so there might be a few openings if I decide to move back to Maine.
Well, maybe jump to that integration firm or something. Sounds like they've got a good system going there. So,
if they'll hire me, I'll work for them. No question.
There you go.
Johanna, thanks again for coming on. This has been a great perspective and a great discussion, and really appreciate you bringing your perspective to this. I think it is truly unique. This is not something you find, and I think you have found you've managed to carve out the perfect relationship and build it just right. And I would say keep that going for as long as you can. Hold on to that with dear life because good luck with that if it goes to some giant firm.
I have been, and I will continue to do so. And as I said before, I am incredibly annoying when I want something. And I think I have made that very clear to all of my upper management that this is something I want to keep. And I always want to improve upon it because there's no such thing as perfection. There is only the good and chasing something better. But I do intend to hold on to this as long as we can.
Well, and I think it's a credit to your tenacity and a credit to your professionalism and that you've made this work. So definitely keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing. So
I will. I will try to do so. Thank you, gentlemen. It's been a delight as always.
Thanks for coming on in.
Well, we've managed to ruin yet another episode of AV Super Friends Off the Rails. You can contact us with questions, topic ideas, or general complaints at mailbag@avsuperfriends.com. If you complain loud enough, we might just invite you on the show.
Nice work, everyone. Sharp broadcast. Really good. Everyone on the floor as well. Really a lot of hustle. I liked it.
The opinions expressed by the AV Super Friends are solely those of the individuals and do not represent their respective institutions, organizations, companies, or clients.